Imagine you are the absolute best technician in your auto repair shop.
Right.
Customers actually ask for you by name. You can diagnose a complex engine misfire in your sleep, and you work 60 hours a week.
Easy. Oh, easily.
And never take a vacation, your hands are permanently stained with oil. Yet somehow, despite all of that relentless grinding, your business is barely scraping by and you are just exhausted.
Yeah. It is a brutal and honestly painfully common reality.
Right.
I mean, you are trying to fix cars, but what you actually need to fix is the invisible machine that sells those repairs. You have all this technical brilliance on the floor, but the financial engine of the business is just, well, sputtering out.
And that tension is the core mission of our deep dives today. We're exploring the massive and often painful transition from being a worker in a business to actually being the CEO of a business.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you feel trapped in the daily grind of your own creation, whether that's an auto shop or, a freelance design business, a consulting firm, we're going to break down the literal science of stepping out of the trenches.
Yes, and to do that, we have an incredibly fascinating stack of sources today. It actually bridges more than a century of business psychology.
Which is why.
It really is. We're pulling from a very modern, comprehensive, ultra master edition guide to auto shop management. So it's packed with hard data on modern shop metrics, but, and here's the twist, we are combining that with foundational excerpts from Frederick Winslow Taylor's classic book, Shop Management.
That dates all the way back to 1903.
Right, 1903.
Combining a century-old industrial engineering text with modern digital software metrics is such a wild juxtaposition.
It is, yeah.
But the goal here is to extract the timeless science of taking a chaotic collection of skilled labor and turning it into a well-oiled machine. One that doesn't rely on the owner being stuck under a hydraulic lift for 12 hours a day.
Right. And to understand how to fix a broken business, we first have to look at the psychological trap that breaks it in the first place. The modern guide calls this the trap of the working owner.
Ah, right, the working owner.
Yeah. Most auto shop owners start out as technicians. Because of that background, their mindset is deeply rooted in technical perfection. They see time as the enemy.
Like they're constantly rushing to beat the flat rate clock.
Exactly. And they measure their success purely by the number of individual jobs they complete in a single day.
Which makes complete sense if you're just a mechanic, right?
Yeah.
Because your value is directly tied to your physical output.
Yeah.
But if you own the place, that mindset becomes a massive liability.
It does. The CEO mindset requires a complete paradigm shift. You have to stop viewing the repair itself as the product and start viewing the entire system as the product.
Okay, that's a big shift.
Huge. A true CEO values process improvement, they track profitability, they optimize resources. The owner who stays in the service bay doing physical labor usually justifies it by thinking, well, I'm saving money on wages.
Right, I don't have to pay a guy if I do it myself.
Exactly. But in reality, they are leaving a fortune on the table because the broader business, the pricing, the customer experience, the inventory, it's all left completely unmanaged.
It's like being a brilliant surgeon who opens a hospital, right?
Yeah.
But they spend 100% of their time just operating on patients.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Meanwhile, the billing department catches on fire, the medical supplies run out, and the power gets shut off. The surgery might be flawless, but the whole institution just collapses.
That analogy perfectly captures the dysfunction. And the crazy thing is, it's not a new problem. Frederick Winslow Taylor saw this identical trap in factories way back in 1903.
Wow.
Yeah, he called it the unevenness of management.
Unevenness, meaning a business becomes incredibly lopsided because the founder is playing favorites with certain departments.
You've hit the core of it. Taylor noted that businesses are usually built by a master spirit who excels in one specific area. And because that founder naturally focuses all their energy and passion right there, that single department towers to this high point of excellence, while the rest of the business is left just glaringly inefficient. Taylor shared this great anecdote in the text about two rival chemical manufacturers.
Oh, this was one of my favorite parts of the reading. Tell this story, because it highlights this blind spot perfectly.
So one of these men was a former factory worker who built his company from the ground up, and the other guy came up strictly through the commercial business side.
Polar opposites.
Totally. The factory worker had his manufacturing processes dialed in so tightly that he was producing chemicals 40% cheaper than his rival.
40%, that's a huge advantage.
Massive. But the businessman excelled at everything outside the factory doors,
Yeah.
selling, buying materials at scale, maintaining this amazing public perception of quality.
So naturally, they both thought the other guy was a complete idiot.
Oh, they despised each other. The factory worker thought the businessman was totally wasteful, and the businessman thought the factory worker was just a brute.
Right.
But market forces eventually forced them to combine their businesses. And when they finally merged, they found that combining their respective skills saved the massive 40% loss that they were each bleeding in their blind spots.
Wow.
Yeah. The takeaway from Taylor, which perfectly aligns with our modern auto shop guide, is that good management isn't just about finding a talented guy and leaving him alone. Management is an exact science of balancing all those uneven parts.
Okay, so let's transition to the actual execution of that science. Because if I'm that shop owner and I finally swallow my pride, step out of the service bay, and sit down in the office, my first major problem is labor.
Right. Who's going to fix the cars now?
Exactly. I have to hire someone to turn the wrenches I just put down. And the sources present a concept here regarding wages that, honestly, it feels completely backwards at first glance.
Ah, yes. The paradox of high wages and low labor costs.
Yes. If you are listening to this, think about your own business right now. Your biggest expense is probably payroll. But the sources claim that the ultimate goal of a profitable business is to pay high wages and at the same time have a low labor cost. Wait, aren't those diametrically opposed? Like, how can I possibly pay my staff significantly more money but have it cost the business less?
I know, it sounds like a riddle. But Taylor proved it's the absolute foundation of profitable management. He made this massive discovery regarding the output gap between the average man and what he called the first-class man.
Okay, define first-class man.
Well, he found that a first-class worker can output 2 to 4 times as much as an average worker.
2 to 4 times. I mean, that isn't just a slight edge. That's a staggering difference in productivity.
It really is. But the crucial caveat, Taylor adds, is that this 400% output isn't achieved by sprinting or overexerting or burning the employee out.
So they aren't just chugging energy drinks and running around.
Right. No. It's a sustainable, healthy pace that a naturally capable, focused person can maintain for years without breaking down. But, and here is the actual math of motivation, Taylor found that to get a first-class man to actually work at that maximum capacity, you absolutely must pay them a premium over the average trade rate.
Okay.
Because if you don't offer that premium, the first-class worker will just revert to the slow, comfortable pace of the average worker. Taylor referred to this intentional slowing down as soldiering.
Soldiering. So basically the 1903 equivalent of quiet quitting.
Yes, exactly.
If you pay me for average, I'm going to give you average, even if I'm capable of greatness.
The human psychology hasn't changed one bit, but Taylor actually calculated the specific percentages required to prevent this soldiering and unlock that peak performance.
What were the numbers?
So for routine machine work, you need to pay about a 30% increase over the average wage.
Okay.
For heavy, exhausting physical labor, it requires a 50 to 60% increase.
Which accounts for the sheer physical toll on the body.
Exactly. Now, for work requiring special skill and brains, like delicate machining or, in our modern context, complex automotive electrical diagnostics, you need to offer a 70 to 80% increase.
Wow.
And for work requiring both immense skill and severe physical exertion, Taylor says you need to pay an 80 to 100% premium.
So you're literally doubling their pay in some cases.
Yeah.
But because they are producing 2 to 4 times the output of the guy making half as much, your overall labor cost per unit of work actually goes down.
The math supports that entirely. You pay high wages, but you achieve a low labor cost per repair. And if we look at the modern auto shop guide, this is exactly how successful shops handle technician retention today.
Right, because we are in a massive labor shortage in the trades right now.
We really are. So to keep those rare first-class technicians, modern shops use highly strategic compensation structures. They use flat-rate pay mixed with hourly guarantees.
Giving them the best of both worlds.
Exactly. This ensures the tech is highly motivated to be productive because they eat what they kill, basically, but they also feel financially secure during the slow weeks.
But if I'm reading the sources correctly, there is a massive warning label attached to this whole strategy. You can't just pay top dollar and expect magic to happen, right? Taylor was very explicit. You must never use a highly paid mechanic to do the repetitive work of a trained laborer.
Yes. That is the rule that ruins most disorganized shops. If you are paying a heavy premium for a first-class diagnostic technician, they should not be sweeping the floors.
Or taking out the trash.
Right. Or doing basic oil changes that an entry-level apprentice could do for a fraction of the cost. You have to meticulously match the mental caliber and the physique of the worker to the specific job. That's the only way the high-wage, low-labor cost equation actually turns a profit.
Okay, so I've hired my first-class technicians, I'm paying them a premium to prevent soldering, and I've got them focused on complex work.
Sounds good so far.
But paying for top talent is completely useless if that top talent is just standing around waiting for a parts delivery or, searching for a lost wrench. Every minute they aren't working, I'm burning premium payroll. How do shops actually prevent that?
Well, that transitions us perfectly into the efficiency engine. The modern guide outlines 5 interconnected pillars for shop success: operations, finance, people, customer experience, and technology.
So if you neglect any single one of these, the structure collapses.
It does. But to answer your question about wasted time, we have to drill deep into the operations pillar, specifically the difference between clock hours and flag hours.
The terminology here was really eye-opening for me. Walk us through how a shop actually measures this.
So, clock hours are simply the time a technician is physically present at the shop. They punched in at 8 a.m., they punch out at 5 p.m., they were in the building for 8 or 9 hours.
Right.
But flag hours are the actual billable hours completed based on the industry standard book time for a specific repair.
Let me make sure I have this straight. If my mechanic is clocking 8 hours a day in the building, but they are only flagging 6 hours of actual repair work, their productivity is 75%.
Exactly.
The rest of that time is just evaporating.
Evaporating into unapplied labor? Yes. And the benchmarks provided in the modern source are very clear on this. Productivity under 65% is considered poor. Above 90% is excellent. But efficiency above 110% is the gold standard.
Okay, I have to push back on that because 110% efficiency sounds like one of those impossible corporate buzzwords.
I know it does.
Like you cannot physically fit 10 hours of work into an 8-hour day unless the mechanic is rushing, skipping steps, and making dangerous mistakes.
That's a totally natural assumption, but it's actually about how industry book time interacts with actual execution. A master tech isn't rushing, they just don't make the false starts an amateur does.
Oh, let me try an analogy here. It's like a professional chef dicing an onion. The recipe, which is our book time, says it takes 5 minutes to prep the onion.
Right.
An average home cook will take all 5 minutes. But a master chef, using a sharp knife and flawless technique, does it perfectly in 2 minutes.
Yes.
They aren't stressed, they aren't rushing, they just have zero wasted motion.
Right.
They still get paid for the 5-minute value of the dish, but they've freed up 3 minutes to start cooking the next order.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The mechanic completes a repair that the book says takes 2 hours in just 1.5 hours. But the shop still legitimately bills for the 2 flag hours of value delivered to the customer.
I see. So the fundamental goal of the CEO is to remove every possible physical and administrative obstacle so the technician can just stay in their bay, chopping onions and maximizing those flag hours.
Precisely. You have to ruthlessly fix the bottlenecks. You minimize unapplied labor, which is time spent doing non-billable things like looking for specialized tools, cleaning up a messy bay, or waiting 20 minutes for a service advisor to get customer authorization.
Which happens all the time.
Constantly. You also have to optimize scheduling. The modern guide suggests actually overbooking the shop slightly.
Wait, like the airlines do, bumping passengers?
Exactly like the airlines, but with a safety net. Data shows a reliable 10 to 15% no-show or cancellation rate for automotive appointments.
Okay.
So a smart shop books to 110% of their actual capacity, which usually lands them right at 95% actual utilization when the cancellations roll in.
Smart.
But at the same time, you deliberately keep a 10 to 15% buffer open in the schedule for same-day emergencies. That way, you don't throw your scheduled work into complete chaos when a tow truck drops a broken-down car in your lot at 2 in the afternoon.
Wow. It really is a game of millimeters.
Yeah.
Okay, so our back-of-house labor is humming. We have the right people doing the right jobs at maximum efficiency, but none of that matters if we aren't charging for it correctly.
Exactly.
So how does the shop interact with and bill the customer?
This brings us to the finance and customer experience pillars. And one of the most vital financial KPIs introduced in the source material is the parts matrix.
The psychology behind this blew my mind. Walk us through it.
Well, many struggling shops operate out of fear. They take the wholesale cost of a part, add a flat percentage markup, say 30 or 40% across the board, and pass it to the customer.
Which seems fair, right?
It seems fair, but it leaves a staggering amount of money on the table. The parts matrix is an automated, tiered pricing system built directly into the shop's management software.
So instead of a flat rate, the markup dynamically changes based on the cost of the part itself.
Yes, a cheap part gets a massive markup, while an expensive part gets a much smaller markup. For example, a $10 wiper blade might get a 200% markup selling for $30, but a $2,000 transmission part might only get a 30% markup.
I really want to linger on the math and the psychology here. Imagine a shop sees 100 cars a month. If they use a flat 30% markup, that $10 wiper blade sells for $13.
Right.
If they use the matrix, it sells for $30. They're bleeding $17 on every single small part just because they're afraid of their own pricing. Multiply that by hundreds of parts a month, and you're losing tens of thousands of dollars a year.
Easily.
And as a customer, I don't expect to pay retail price for a wiper blade at a repair shop anyway. I know I could buy it cheaper at a parts store, but I'm paying for the convenience of not having to stand in the rain to install it myself.
Exactly.
So a $30 wiper blade doesn't offend me. But if a shop slapped a 200% markup on a $2,000 engine component, bringing it to $6,000, I would absolutely notice that, and I would feel completely gouged.
The matrix captures the high value of convenience on the low end without breaking the customer's trust on the high end. It completely removes human emotion and fear from pricing.
That's incredible.
It is. And speaking of trust, that brings us to the ultimate tool for the front of house, the DVI, or digital vehicle inspection.
Oh man, this targets what is arguably the biggest problem in the industry, the broken relationship between the mechanic and the customer.
It really does. The modern customer is naturally anxious. They rely on YouTube to try and self-diagnose noises, and they are highly price sensitive because the industry historically suffers from a severe lack of transparency.
Right, people just have this deep-seated fear of being scammed.
Absolutely.
Think about the emotional reality of getting your car fixed. You're standing in a lobby, you don't really know what's wrong, you're clutching your wallet, and you're worried about making rent this month. It's an information asymmetry problem.
That's exactly what it is.
The mechanic speaks a language you don't know.
About a machine.
You can't see the inside of.
And the DVI doesn't just show a picture, it instantly deletes a century of that built-in industry distrust. The stat from the source is incredible. Repair orders authorized digitally have an average value 50% higher than those without.
50% higher.
Yeah.
That isn't just a minor bump. How does a simple software tool cause that massive of a jump in fails?
Because it fundamentally shifts the power dynamic.
Yeah.
You are transitioning from a service advisor calling a nervous customer on the phone and saying, trust me, your brakes are bad, to texting the customer a high-resolution photo or a video of their actual car.
Which is huge.
You show them a picture of a severely cracked serpentine belt. Or you show them their brake pad is worn down to 3 millimeters, and you include a little educational graphic explaining that the safe threshold is 5 millimeters.
Seeing is believing.
Exactly.
It shifts the dynamic from a salesperson trying to hit a quota to an educator just showing you the objective, indisputable reality of your vehicle. It completely diffuses the anxiety.
It really does. And once you have established that absolute customer trust, and you have your labor operating efficiently and your pricing matrix optimized, the final step is ensuring this new, highly profitable machine doesn't just fall apart.
Right.
You have to retain the staff that makes it run.
So we've got the systems. Now, how do we keep the people? Because an engine that runs hot all the time will eventually blow a gasket.
Retention is everything. And keeping first-class people isn't just about the money.
Really?
I mean, yes, the high wages are the absolute foundation, as Taylor established in 1903, but the modern guide emphasizes that it is also about culture.
Okay, what does that look like in a shop?
It's about providing clear career paths, showing a young apprentice exactly what training they need to become a master diagnostic tech. It's about having modern, clean equipment. And there is a structural innovation emerging in the industry right now, the 4-day work week.
This fascinated me. How does a busy shop close for 3 days a week?
Well, forward-thinking shops are moving to a schedule of 4 10-hour days. It gives the technicians a 3-day weekend every single week to recover their bodies.
That's amazing.
It acts as a massive recruiting tool in a tight labor market, and surprisingly, it can actually lower shop overhead costs because you are running the heavy equipment, the air compressors, the heating, and the cooling for fewer days while still getting the same 40 hours of flat rate production.
Oh, that makes total sense. Let's bring this all together. If I am a listener who owns a shop, or any service business, really, and I'm hearing all of this while currently stuck in the bay, turning wrenches and just exhausted, how do I actually execute this transition? The sources provide a concrete 90-day roadmap. Walk us through it.
It is entirely about breaking the transition into manageable phases. Month 1 is purely assessment.
Okay?
The owner has to sit down and do a harsh financial audit. You have to calculate your actual labor efficiency and map out your workflow bottlenecks. Because, you can't fix what you haven't measured.
I imagine month 1 is psychologically brutal.
Oh, absolutely.
It is going to hurt to see those numbers. Your ego as a mechanic is tied to your hands, but the audit forces you to see how bad of a CEO you have been.
It strips away the ego completely. But once you survive that reality check, month 2 is implementation.
This is where it gets real.
This is where the structural friction happens. You roll out the DVIs to the customers, and you force your staff to actually use the software. You activate the parts matrix to fix your bleeding margins, and you fix the scheduling, implementing that 110% overbooking strategy with the emergency buffer.
Right, you force the new systems online. And then month 3.
Month 3 is optimization. You build out weekly KPI dashboards so you can see your flag hours and gross margins at a glance without having to dig through receipts.
Right.
And critically, you train your service advisors on value presentation, teaching them how to properly walk a customer through a digital inspection without sounding like a pushy salesperson.
It really is a complete identity transformation.
It is.
We have covered incredible ground today. We started with the danger of the working owner, letting go of the comfort zone of being the best technician in the building. We looked at Frederick Winslow Taylor's century-old math, proving that paying a premium for a first-class worker actually results in a lower overall labor cost. We broke down the vital difference between clock hours and flag hours, using the MasterChef analogy. And we looked at how transparent technology, like digital vehicle inspections and a tiered parts matrix, can completely revolutionize customer trust and profitability.
It is a phenomenal blueprint for business, but there is a broader implication here beyond just the automotive industry or running a company.
Oh?
Think about it. If the parts matrix and the first-class man concepts work so perfectly for a complex auto shop, how could you apply them to your own daily life?
I love where this is going. How does this translate to the individual listener?
Well, what if you started tiering your own personal energy? Think about the low-cost, routine task of your week, the $10 wiper blades of your life.
Like administrative emails, basic chores.
Exactly. What if you relentlessly outsourced, delegated, or automated those? And then, what if you paid a premium in your own time, focus, and energy only to the complex, high-value engine replacements of your career?
Wow.
If you stop being the overwhelmed, underpaid technician of your own life, what kind of CEO could you become?
That is a brilliant way to look at it. Because at the end of the day, whether you are running a business, leading a team, or just managing your own time, you cannot build a sustainable future if you are constantly stuck under the lift.